We are slaying monsters.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
So it is October 21st when we're recording this. We don't record, we try to record the Forteans as close as possible to the date that they come out, but yeah, we need a little bit of time to do all the processing on them and stuff like that. So this is October 21st, Monday, October 21st. EJ, do you know what happened in Fortean history yesterday?
Yesterday?
Yesterday. It was the anniversary of something. Do you know what it was the anniversary of? October 20th.
October 20th, was that the day that Jack Parsons blew himself up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Jack Parsons is like a cultish history.
It's kind of Fortean.
Yeah, no, that can be Fortean, but that's the wrong branch. I'll give you maybe I'll try to give you. You want the year?
Sure.
October 20th, 1967. Ring any bells?
It probably has something to do with aliens.
It does not. Wrong branch. Cryptids. October 20th, 1967.
Oh, it's the Patterson-Gimlin tape.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That is the anniversary of the Patterson-Gimlin tape. That is when Patterson and Gimlin claimed that they recorded the infamous Bigfoot Sasquatch crossing a field /
riverbed.
Yeah, riverbed, dry riverbed in Humboldt County, California. Willow Creek, famous Willow Creek.
There you go.
Yep.
Cool. Well, congratulations and happy anniversary to the person in the suit.
Maybe we haven't talked about that one yet.
I guess not.
That would be the claim is that that's Bob Hieronymus, but I don't know that Bob Hieronymus would actually celebrate this day. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that's great. Okay. Oh, we're slaying monsters. We got Matt across the table.
Yo.
I'm EJ. And we have the Fortean Roundup happening right about now. So, buckle up.
Right about now. So, yeah, this is our Fortean Roundup. This is for the spookiest month of the year,
Yeehaw.
October. Every month we review the latest Fortean news. Fortean, of course, referring to Charles Fort, the famous occultist / cryptid researcher / just kind of unusual guy, high strangeness, if you will. And we report on the latest news that came out this month and get you up to speed to let you know what's going on in the world of Fortean, quote unquote, science. So
yes, cool.
The Fortean arts. That'd be that's the degree. If I opened up a university, it would be a degree in Fortean arts.
That's great. What would you do?
Oh, I would teach, obviously. I would establish the university.
No, I mean, like, what classes? Like, you probably take people out into the woods and do field research.
Oh, yes. Yeah, well, you would need, like, Bigfoot calls 101.
Definitely. Yeah. How to cook bacon.
Yeah. You cook bacon, and then all that happens is Bobo just keeps showing up in the cafeteria, like, hey, is bacon around?
I think Bobo's off bacon lately, though.
Bobo looks good.
He's looking good.
Well, he was in that Sasquatch documentary that the Duplass brothers
Oh my
did.
that really good one?
Yeah, on Hulu. I think it's just called Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good.
I didn't recognize him, but he has this. The only way I recognized him was his far off gaze. He's got this gaze.
Yeah.
I would know it anywhere.
Well, that's because Bobo, he's been out and researching so much that he knows Sasquatch. It's never at the closest tree. It's always at the farthest tree.
Definitely.
You're never going to be surprised by a Sasquatch that's right in front of you.
No.
You're
going to smell that thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what they say. Mm-hmm. They smell really bad.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? Since we're talking about Sasquatch, I think we should start with our Sasquatch news item that came out this month.
Then. Yeah.
And this is a news item that comes from TMZ. So this is some cutting edge reporting here on Slaying
It's
Monsters.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, trendy.
Yeah.
So TMZ reported that a viral video of a Bigfoot sitting under a tree in Lawton, Oklahoma, had been released and was just making the rounds on the internet.
Okay.
Now, you saw this video, I think. In it, you see the alleged Bigfoot. It's kind of just chilling under the tree, and then it turns and looks at the camera real briefly. The camera operator, like, freaks out. The camera goes nuts, and then the video ends.
Right.
And, I mean, it's a pretty compelling Bigfoot, I guess. You know, I don't want to just immediately say costume, although it is a costume, but it has a much more developed face than you would think. It's not just like hidden by shaggy hair or something like that. But
Well, they're getting better at it.
Yeah.
We're getting better at Bigfoot costumes.
I mean, we've had years and years to practice. See, this is going to be the thematic part for this whole episode, I think. Because that's, of course, the big question for Patterson Gimlin is, can we reproduce that costume now?
Just wait until they start to incorporate AI into this stuff.
Oh, they already have.
Right? Or deep fakes with Bigfoot.
I've already seen so many pictures, like AI generated images online of cryptids and UFOs and stuff. We said that way back when consumer cameras started becoming popular. I mean, look at when we talked about the surgeon's photograph, that was because cameras were now a kind of thing that everybody had. And so they were like, oh, cool, let's see what we can do. People are always, any new technology, people are always taking it, trying to push it to its limits and seeing if they can come up with fakery from it.
But there was an age when the photograph was exciting and pretty believable for the masses. And now we've come to this point where there's a democratization, I think, of the ability to fake things really well. And it has sort of taken the magic out of all of this stuff for me. Because I'm never that excited anymore whenever I see anything. And maybe it was partly because of what was the animal?
Are you talking about the Thylacine photos?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the Thylacine photos from a couple of months ago that Faris Galante reported on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That turned out to just be a mock-up. Someone had made a Thylacine model. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of a piece of art, to make a model like that. But I think that there's just this leveling off that's happening now, and everybody's doing it. Everybody can do it. Anybody can get a costume and sit in front of a tree and put it on TMZ, and like, you can enhance it you can make it better with AI. You can create an alien thing in the sky with AI, no problem. Like, it's just not fun for me.
But counterpoint,
I don't believe you.
I think you're just coming to this for the first time, where I've been experiencing this my entire life. I mean, if you go back to, like, the 1970s, Billy Meyer was taking fake photos of UFOs and putting them out as like, real, People have been doing this for a long time. And, I mean, Billy Meyers were... I wouldn't say that they were phenomenal. They weren't great, But people believed them though. They were enough to at least make people ask the question. And I think that it's been something that's been going on since we've been having conversations about these.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just what we do.
I just think technology's gotten better and better, and things are looking more and more real. And
it's true. In a way, I think it's good, because if we can get to a place where people don't trust photos immediately upon seeing a photo, I think that's better. I think we do need to be critical of all of this stuff.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So when you see a UFO in the sky or a Bigfoot chilling under a tree, you're like, is that though? Like, is that? Let's think about it. Let's do research into it instead of just accepting it at face value, being like, oh, obviously that's a Sasquatch.
I wonder if there's something to be said, too, for the element of conspiracy when it comes to these things. Like, if you look at a alien flying in the you look at let's say a UAP, like,
Sure.
because there's conspiracy tied around it in a greater way than, say, a Bigfoot, I think that the viewer is more likely to, from a psychological standpoint, believe it because there's somebody out there, there's an entity, a powerful entity, theoretically, trying to hide us from the truth. Where Bigfoot, maybe there's a little conspiracy around it, but not to the point where we've got, like, congressional hearings about Bigfoot. So I wonder if the conspiracy allows people to believe it more because there's an element hiding it.
Maybe I see what you're saying, because the act of capturing that image is now kind of a covert opposition to the silencing and the, conspiracy that's going on. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit more inclined to believe that that's real, as opposed to, I was walking in the woods and I saw a Sasquatch and I took a picture of it. Yeah. But nobody's trying to, like, silence me or steal my Sasquatch photo or something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a theory that the U.S. government, and I guess probably other world governments, are trying to silence the existence of Sasquatch because it allows forestry to continue. And not like conservational forestry, but, the logging industry and development and things like that to continue, because we're actually endangering Sasquatch habitats in the process of that. But if we knew that Sasquatch was real, we might be opposed to it.
I will just say, like, whatever it takes. If that can stop deforestation, great.
No, it would be the opposite. Like, we need to let people know that there's a Bigfoot, and once we do that, deforestation will stop.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's perfect. I don't care how it's done. Just stop it. We can all believe in Bigfoot together. That's fine.
So anyway, this particular TMZ story, internet sleuths on the Bigfoot subreddit were very quick to identify the Bigfoot Head Shop, which was a vape store in Lawton, Oklahoma. A Facebook ad for that shop has an identical Bigfoot running toward the camera before breaking out into dance while DJ Snake's Turn Down for What plays in the background.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's a very elaborate costume, but it's the perfect match for the TMZ video of Bigfoot sitting under the tree, surrounded by foliage and whatever. And given that both of them come out of Lawton, Oklahoma, I think we can pretty conclusively say that this case is closed. And that was a promo or, behind the scenes footage of the Lawton Head Shop, Bigfoot Head Shop.
That's really great.
Advertising.
Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, if we have any listeners in Oklahoma and you're in the vicinity of Lawton, you should go to the Bigfoot Head Shop.
I guess.
Check out.
I don't know.
Yeah, they did a good promotion.
Honestly, their choice of music is pretty great, so I would say I think they're pretty cool.
Well, since we were talking about the conspiracies and all of and fakery and governmental, manipulation of people and all of that stuff, let's talk about Immaculate Constellation, because that is the big UAP news this month. By the way, UAP...
Anomalous.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Unidentified
Yes.
anomalous phenomena.
Because I guess it could be on the ground.
Or in the water or
in the
whatever.
water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Technically, I guess the Sasquatch from the TMZ video is unidentified anomalous phenomena until it started dancing to Turn Down for What. So
identified awesome phenomenon.
God. So a news report on Public, blog Public, names a secret government program that is allegedly hiding UAPs, crashed UAPs that have been recovered. And the code name for that is Immaculate Constellation. And that's just kind of been what everybody's talking about.
Okay. And we don't know who this whistleblower is.
So, yeah, journalist Mike Schellenberger, who runs this blog public, revealed the name Immaculate Constellation for the first time and claimed that it had been set up to retrieve these unidentified crafts. And he said that he had confirmed this by multiple anonymous whistleblowers inside the Department of Defense.
Okay.
So allegedly, the Immaculate Constellation program was created in 2017 after a New York Times article. We know this New York Times article. This is the one by Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal that broke the whole thing, had the Tic Tac videos that myself and other people have debunked in the past. So that article on the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, came out, and I guess encourage them to create a new program and name it Immaculate Constellation, or maybe just shift funds. Who knows? ATIP, of course, was the program that siphoned off millions of dollars by Robert Bigelow into his now defunct Bigelow Aerospace and his bonkers Skinwalker Ranch research into the afterlife and the paranormal and werewolves and all of that stuff. That was originally a much longer title and involved Bigfoot's company looking for portals, cattle mutilations, and, just all the weird fucking crazy ass shit that Bigelow was into.
You called him Bigfoot.
Did I call him Bigfoot?
Bigfoot's company.
Wait, I have never seen Robert Bigelow and a Bigfoot in the same room at the same time.
Oh my God. You heard it first here, folks.
I think that's it. Robert Bigelow.
Breaking news.
He even, this is such a comic book thing. He would totally be like Bigelow the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
As his code name.
Yeah.
His what do you call that? His alternate identity. Yeah. So eventually, Bigelow and his company got involved in remote viewing with Hal Puthoff. You remember him, because he used to work for the Stargate program and was into all of the men who stare at goats type of remote viewing, trying to see if there was any mind control that the government could do. That program got shut down because it didn't fucking work.
Yes, it is not real. Sorry.
So the thing about Immaculate Constellation is, I have no idea if it's fucking real or not. Schellenberger offers no evidence besides, trust me.
Yeah. I don't want to trust him, though.
Yeah. I mean, all of his alleged whistleblowers are anonymous, and they provided no evidence at all. The Department of Defense denies that any program of that name exists. The former Pentagon director, Sean Kirkpatrick, agrees. And you might remember back in March, there was a report from the All Domain Anomaly Research Office, AARO, that Sean Kirkpatrick used to run. That came out and basically said that the Department of Defense has no crafts of unknown origin. They just don't, right? And so I don't really know what to make of this. It's just kind of a big nothing here.
It is a big nothing, and everybody's excited about it, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but we just don't have any evidence yet. So I can see why people would be kind of into it, but
yeah,
it's really tough when you walk up and you're like, this thing is real, but by the way, I have zero evidence for it, and I can't give you anything. I can't even give you a name of somebody who said something. Right. At least we had Grush. At least we had the guy.
And that's the thing. I props to Grush.
Yeah.
Even though I think that there are some issues with Grush's theories, and we've talked about that a lot in the past. But I think that there's a lot of manipulation that happens within the government to kind of tease out leaks and see if they pass bad information, how far it goes down the chain and all of that stuff. But at least Grush came forward, and Ryan Graves and Dave Fravor came forward and sat in that meeting and talked about it. We have nothing. If you gave us a memo, if you gave us something, maybe we could hang our hat on it and say okay, well now there's a point of research here, but we don't have it.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem for me too is that it doesn't really matter who the journalist is breaking this.
Yes.
It could be fucking Carl Sagan back from the dead, very believable guy. We all like him.
Sure, right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I still would be like, possible BS, buddy, because there's no evidence.
For sure.
But this is even worse because we've got a guy like Michael Schellenberger,
Right.
who is a climate change denier, among many other very troubling things. So it just compounds my skepticism.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, you do have to look at the source, right? I mean, and we said that we weren't on the air in 2017. I would have said it in 2017 when Leslie Kean broke the story. But we said that when all of the stuff with Grush came out last year, you've got to look at the source. Leslie Kean was in a relationship with somebody who was very deeply involved with UFOs and Robert Bigelow, and we know that Robert Bigelow was just pinwheeling around trying to get as much funding for all of his companies as he could. There's a difference between a journalist who's working a beat and is knowledgeable about a particular sphere and a journalist who has a bias but does not tell you about that bias.
Right.
And that's where Leslie Kean falls, I think. And Michael Schellenberger, I don't know that he has a bias toward UFOs and UAPs necessarily, but he's kind of a little bitch.
He's a bitch.
I mean, you brought up, he claims that I don't think he denies climate change, but he claims that it's not a big deal, which is the way that's almost worse in a way, because he downplays it in a time that we really cannot downplay climate change. It's a big, big fucking deal. And he wants to end all access, Schellenberger wants to end all access to gender-affirming surgeries as well. He also claims to be a libertarian, which makes zero sense because he seems really, really interested in regulating what people can and can't do with their bodies and their relationships.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's the age-old hypocrisy with these conservative types.
Yeah, I mean, don't claim to be a libertarian and then tell me what I can do. Claim to be a libertarian and be like, okay, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. That's
just
what I
don't
think
hurt me, right?
Yeah.
That's what libertarianism actually is. And we're not a political podcast, but sometimes you have to have political conversations.
And we're not libertarians either.
But he is somebody who we have to think a little critically about.
Yeah.
Because of this. Because if you're coming in, seeing all of the research about climate change, and then you write a series of books, not just one. It's not like he wrote one book and was wrong, but you write a series of books downplaying the effects of climate change. That tells me that you are not great. You're either not good at observing, processing, and making critical assumptions about data, or you have an agenda. And either one of them is dangerous when you now come forward and say, hey, I've been talking to whistleblowers. Hey, there's this secret program in the government. And,
good point, and I'll throw out, if there are whistleblowers with a huge story like this, why would they go to him? All these high-ranking people in the DOD, there are better journalists.
Yeah, wouldn't you want somebody more reputable? Why are you going after the person who's a climate change denier? Or a closeted climate change denier. That's kind of what he is. You know?
There are a lot of good journalists out there you could go to.
And so, again, we see this weird binding, this association of ultra-conservative right with conspiracy theory. And I'm still kind of working through what that means and why they are so tightly knit. You know, you and I have had conversations in the past about how there's an interest in ultra-conservative thinking to create destabilization. And, I mean, there's no better way to create destabilization than through conspiracy theory. That is the episode that we just released this past week on Oak Island. That's everything we were talking about when we were talking about the secret societies.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, that's what they were doing. They were sitting around salons having conversations about, how can we destabilize government just with thought?
Yeah.
So that's certainly one aspect of it, possibly. It's still something that I need to continue to think on and continue to try to tease out what's going on there.
Yeah, but there's a connection.
And it's also a good way, I think, to get some of the more conspiratorially minded liberals on your side as well. Because, I mean, look, I see news all the time that's like, wow, UAP disclosure is bipartisan, which is cool. And don't get me wrong, like, I think the disclosure is a good thing as long as it doesn't endanger our people or our programs. You know, we obviously don't want enemies that could be using that for nefarious means to get too much information. But I think that disclosure is generally a good thing. But it does worry me when you have certain people fronting this movement with ulterior motives.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Matt Gaetz.
Well, that's just deflection. Don't think about all the underage young ladies I have, children that I have brought across borders.
Yes.
For sex trafficking.
Yes.
Don't think about that. Mm-hmm. Let's think about the UFOs.
Exactly. Allegedly. That Matt Gaetz allegedly took children across state borders for sex trafficking. Allegedly. Mm-hmm. So anyway, all of that is to say that this is a big nothing story to me, despite what, you know, the media out there, the Fortean media might make you seem. I'm taking the stance that until Schellenberger gives me some type of evidence, or his sources come forward and provide some type of corroborating evidence, I think that Schellenberger is just a coattail rider on Luis Elizondo, who, to his credit, came forward and wrote a book and has been going on interviews and actually speaking out.
He's standing behind what he's saying, whether it's true or not. He's out there.
Yeah.
And knowing how Schellenberger deals with actual facts and data, we'll probably never see anything.
Yeah, I think that this story is going to be gone by next month.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to fade into obscurity, and that'll be the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so earlier we were talking about AI and all that fun stuff. And this article, which deals with the Nazca lines in Peru, they discovered, using drones and AI, new Nazca glyphs. This was done by an archaeologist and anthropologist, Masato Sakai, from Yamagata University in Japan. He basically, using the drones and AI, it doubled the number of Nazca lines, that Nazca glyphs that we have. Yeah. That are known to us now. So, this is really exciting and cool. This is AI for good, not for evil.
It can be used for good. Yeah, it's really cool. I found this on the Smithsonian Institute. You found it somewhere.
ScienceAlert.
Science Alert. Yeah, this was out a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they have now found over 300 new figures and geoglyphs in Nazca. Mm-hmm. This is also, of course, the location of the infamous Nazca mummies that Jaime Maussan keeps hawking as aliens, even though they're not. Just throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. Nazca lines, first discovered in 1927, although they were created in somewhere between 200 BCE to 60 CE. The Nazca people, you know how they made them? They carved these drawings and roadways into the... I have always heard that it was reddish, but my mom just got back from Peru and said that the sand is actually browner than you think it is. So anyway, they would carve these roadways into the soil around the Nazca Desert and create these super elaborate geoglyphs in these pathways, walking paths.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And I was reading here, I didn't know this before, but they said that the glyphs, so there's two types of glyphs and they depict different things. Mm-hmm. So like the relief type glyphs depict humans and domesticated animals. So maybe they're pets. Aww. And then the line type glyphs depict the wild animals. And you would see them as you walked these trails, you know, you'd see them along. And so to me, it tells me once and for all, we love our animals. We always have.
Aw, that's really cute.
No, I love it. That was my big takeaway.
And then there are also ones that they say are alien runways, of course, which is why we talk about the Nazca glyphs, right?
Yes, that's true.
But they're not alien runways. No. That's all thanks to Eric von Daniken.
Yeah.
Our favorite Chariots of the Gods author. Mm-hmm. He claimed that there was no reason to create these geoglyphs and these lines, and there was no way that you could have possibly created them unless you wanted to contact the aliens. unless you were trying to communicate with somebody who was in the upper atmosphere who could look down and see the glyphs. But that's just kind of Von Däniken not understanding culture, which is kind of his brand, is not understanding cultures.
That's the brand of any of those kinds of things, with like Ancient Aliens in general.
Yeah.
And then also that other guy who's trying to be an archaeologist with the Netflix show.
Oh, what's his name? Ancient Apocalypse.
I don't know his name. It doesn't matter.
Let's not even give him airtime.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But it's the same thing. It's like you misunderstand these people.
And the problem being that, like, okay, we don't know exactly the purpose of the geoglyphs. The purpose may have just been like, hey, let's make some cool pictures. Like it might have been that. It might have been. I know some archaeologists believe that they were messages to not exactly the gods. It's not quite that cut and dried, but a lot of them are water signs. And of course, Nazca's a desert. They hardly get any rain at all. That's why the glyphs have survived so long, because they never wash away. So it makes perfect sense that you would be calling upon water spirits to provide rain in the middle of the desert, and that's why you would draw water glyphs. Right. Yeah, there's spiders, monkeys, and whales, which are associated with water in Nazca culture. So, of course, that they would have water signs if they were asking for rain. But they also might just be like, hey, let's make some fun pictures. Sometimes cultures did that. Yeah. We do that now.
We do it. Absolutely.
And they're definitely not runways because they follow the terrain. So they go like over hills and valleys and stuff like that. So good luck landing your fucking spacecraft and not crashing into the side of a mountain.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Also, if they were using them as runways, wouldn't they be all fucked up?
You would think so, and like covered with scorch marks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Trying to put logic into this.
Also, I see that one of the things that they depicted in these new Nazca glyphs that they have found are killer whales wielding weapons.
Yeah.
And these stabby whales have also been found on Nazca pottery, where they were depicted as decapitating humans in ritual sacrifice.
That is so badass. I wonder what that's all about.
I have no idea. I don't know why. I don't know why the whales with knives were like this particular imagery that the Nazca people used, but that's really badass. And I think I'm gonna stay away from whales with sharp implements.
Absolutely.
For a little while.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about that?
No, I don't think so.
The only other thing that we could say about this is that the findings from Masato Sakai and Japan's Yamagata University were all written up in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, or as we always like to call it, PNAS.
Oh, oh, we are such children. PNAS.
That is what they call their magazine. That's when you talk to people about that magazine, like actual scientists about that magazine, they're like, yeah, it's written up in PNAS. They all know. I love it.
I love it. Well, you got to have your fun where you can, It's very
right.
serious business, and so you got to have fun.
That's absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Well,
speaking of PNAS.
yeah, EJ, bring us into this one.
Speaking of whales.
Yes. This whale did not have a knife, but...
Maybe it did. Maybe it cut off its own penis. PNAS. So these two dudes, I love these guys. I think they're a lot of fun. These two guys that found this gigantic sea serpent. They're smiling, and they just look like they'd be fun to have a drink with.
Oh, yeah.
They're fun dudes. So they found this. They were cleaning up the beach.
Yeah, they were like just doing the right thing, cleaning up the beach.
Dudes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being good guys, and they found this giant sea serpent. But it actually isn't a sea serpent; it's a whale penis. And so,
I think one of the questions we don't ask often enough is, like, when we're investigating sea serpents, I don't think we ask often enough, could that be a whale penis?
This is very interesting. So anyway, so I mean, that's kind of it. But it kind of makes you wonder about all of the other things that we find washed up on shore that could be just regular things that people then a whole cryptid folklore is built around it.
Yeah, so this was a humpback whale penis that was washed up on shore. But it made me wonder, that I've literally never wondered this in my entire life, but do humpback whale penises float when they are severed? Because if they do, and you see this thing kind of floating around the surface, is it possible that that got misinterpreted as a sea serpent? Like maybe the sea serpent the HMS Daedalus saw, you know?
Could be. It kind of looks like an eel, doesn't it? I don't really know eels that well, but eels are big, right? Eels can be mistaken as whale penises, or whale penises mistaken as eels, or sea serpents.
Yeah, why not?
All in the same
Why
category.
not? Mm-hmm.
There was also that one thing that washed up on shore a long time ago. It was actually, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a...
What do you mean a long time ago? Like the 1700s or...
No, there's photos of it. It's like maybe the early 2000s or something. It was like it looked like a raccoonish kind of thing. And it was
that's the Montauk Monster.
Oh, the Montauk Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that? When did that get...
I want to say early 2000s.
Oh, I was kind of right then.
Something like that. Yeah, that was a raccoon that had fallen. Well, it ended up in the ocean, and it had lost all of its fur, and it was bloated, and it ended up washed on shore, and that's the Montauk Monster washed up on Montauk in Long Island.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have things like this in our lexicon, and it's very cool. So I just thought it was a funny story, but
they call those globsters, by the way.
Things that wash up like that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
carcasses, unidentified carcasses that wash up on beaches are called globsters.
Cute.
So currently the penis resides in a freezer until they decide what to do with it. Pranks are obviously an option. But I imagine that they'll probably end up using it for some type of scientific research.
Yeah.
The article does not make it clear whether or not it will be reunited with its owner. But they do believe that it was part of a humpback whale that had washed ashore 2 months prior.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know what happened to that whale. It really does. If you look at the picture of the two guys holding it, it really does look like some type of bizarre sea serpent. You know, it's not exactly the Cadborosaurus. Because I think that the conclusion ultimately was that the Cadborosaurus was a basking shark. But I'll send you here. Let me send you this photo of the Cadborosaurus. You know, we see these sort of sea serpent-y type of creatures all the time in cryptozoology, in globster research and things like that, and it does just make me wonder, like, that is something that we now have to check off first, is when this thing washes up, look and make sure it's not a whale penis.
Could be. Oh, I can see why.
I think that one's too big.
That whale was in porn, if that's the truth.
Yeah, right. So EJ, when we are recording this, we are 10 days from Halloween, which is the spookiest time of the year. And I don't think of anything that's more appropriate for our Halloween Fortean Roundup than a story about ghosts. Except maybe a story about ghost sharks.
Ooh, underwater ghosts.
Underwater ghosts. Subnautic ghosts. So BBC reports that New Zealand scientists have discovered a new species of ghost shark, which is also called a spookfish. They are called this because they live in really, really, really deep oceans, like 1.5 miles down. That is an 8-story building's depth, or 1,400 Aaron Rodgers standing on his head the whole way up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The spookfish belongs to an order of fish that have no bones, only cartilage. And they are called chimeras. That's actually what they call these fish, is chimeras.
Yeah, it's super cool.
We don't know much about their behavior or their biology, so it's really cool that they may have actually found this species and maybe have a chance to study them. Apparently they can grow to almost 5 feet long, and they look really funky, kind of like They're like a cross between a shark and a seahorse, sort of.
You know, what's interesting to me is that as fish, I'm reading on Britannica, they are weak swimmers.
Really?
Yeah. Which is crazy. It's like that's the only thing you're supposed to be doing is swimming.
Yeah, it's literally all you do as a fish.
It's your job.
Yeah.
And you're a weak swimmer. It's interesting.
Man. So then what do they do?
What are they good? Maybe they're good ping pong players or something. Maybe they have other talents that they're just not saying on Britannica.
I'm sure they do.
I think they do. Like the Britannica, they're just like giving them these like, they're like slamming them. They're saying that they're delicate when they're caught and they die quickly out of water. Whoa, Britannica.
They're ugly too.
Yeah, they're stupid.
They have dumb faces.
Anyway.
Well, that's our spookfish story.
That's our It's pretty cool.
Amazing.
I will say this too. This is also on Britannica. They are thought to have emerged in the aftermath of the Devonian extinctions, and that ended 360 million years ago.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's crazy, actually, if they're Devonian.
They're very old.
That's really, really cool.
So despite their weakness with swimming, they're still very, very successful.
Yeah, obviously. So they're doing something right. Mm-hmm. I mean... Maybe
they just stay in one place and chill.
I guess also you're down there, it's probably super, super cold. You probably don't want to move around a whole lot. Because the more you swim, the more you're going to expel energy. If they have a way to just hang out basically in one place and eat, that's probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, man.
You know?
All day, every day, just chill and eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see Britannica surviving since the Devonian.
Yeah, Britannica.
Yeah, so we touched real briefly on the Thylacine, Forest Galante, and the Thylacine earlier in this episode. The Thylacine is also back in the news this month. Sky News reports that scientists have successfully sequenced the DNA of the Thylacine. Mm-hmm. And this is pretty cool because they used a 108-year-old specimen that they got from the University of Melbourne. This company called Colossal Bioscience is trying to recreate the now extinct Tasmanian tiger, if only on the computer for now. I'm not sure that we're going to actually, 3D print a Tasmanian tiger anytime soon, but...
Mm-hmm. So just preliminary stuff.
Yeah, well, the idea, I think, is that if you can recreate the DNA sequence on the computer, you can then recreate the whole thing on the computer and then start to run it through some computer-generated models and see how it might have behaved and things like that.
And then you just need a frog.
I'm not sure that frogs would share DNA with a thylacine. But you know what's cool? Mm-hmm. This group... Colossal Bioscience, they're the group that's behind the effort to clone the mammoth.
Yes, I read that, and I think it's interesting because I was reading some thoughts from the naysayers out there, and which is in the Sky.com article too.
Sure.
But the conservationists argue a couple of things, and this is the thing, I'm of two minds about all this. I completely love all this what they're doing with the thylacine. At the same time, I see what the conservationists are saying, where they're saying, like, you're pumping millions of dollars into this theoretical thing, but wouldn't it be better to spend that money preserving the habitats of the animals that are at risk of becoming extinct? So it's the thing. I think you can probably do both. I don't think that when it comes to this stuff, money is running out. When it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, it's a little bit like saying, why are we spending so much money trying to get to space when there are people dying of hunger in our country? Mm-hmm. I feel like the two are not mutually exclusive. Colossal Bioscience fits a particular niche in research that they don't necessarily need to be in charge of preservation. The concern that I had read that I thought was really fascinating, this is regarding the mammoth.
Yep.
Is if they are able to clone a mammoth, we do not, and they do it perfectly. Like that thing stepped out of its time period in the Ice Age and steps boom into 2025. Mm-hmm. It will not have the biologic resources that it needs to survive.
Yep.
because everything is different and it hasn't evolved. It's going to be a perfect snapshot from that time. Now, the Thylacine, we're talking about the last one went extinct in the 1930s. That's probably not such a big deal, but habitat is still a concern. Like, what do you do with that? Do you clone it and then stick it in a cage? Do you stick it in an enclosure and just like make it live there?
What kind of life is that?
Right. It's a super challenging question now when you're talking about cloning these extinct species.
Yeah.
I don't want to see species go extinct, but at the same time, when we have destroyed their environments to the point where they can't survive, how are we supposed to bring them back and then put them back in that environment? It doesn't exist anymore.
I know. It's actually bad enough from the 1930s to now because, yes, habitat loss, also climate change has accelerated extremely from 1930 to now. It's probably just cruel.
Despite what Michael Schellenberger will have you believe. Yes,
Yeah.
climate change is bad.
Yeah, it's real and it's happening quick. And but then you take that and you compound it by putting a woolly mammoth, and wherever I think they were everywhere, basically, but everywhere north, everywhere cold. It was the Ice Age.
Everything was cold.
Yeah, everything was
Yeah.
cold. But there's not really a place where you can put them. Even if you threw them up on down in Antarctica or something, that's not guaranteeing that they have the food that they need and everything that they need for that.
Not at all. And if they did, and if they adapt, because you see this too, what happens if a woolly mammoth is suddenly I don't know that there are plants. So say you send it to Alaska, and the woolly mammoth lives in Alaska, and all of a sudden it gets really good at eating conifers, maybe.
Yeah.
And then this population decimates the conifer trees in Alaska because they also are not used to growing under the pressures of woolly mammoths, So yeah, cloning, it's a challenge. And I like that it exists just in computer generated models for now. I feel like that's the best place until we figure out how to make biodomes or something like that to maintain these things.
Yeah.
Maybe we could bonsai them.
Bonsai lawns.
Yeah. Wouldn't you love to have a little thylacine?
Little woolly mammoth or thylacine?
Yeah, you just put it in there. You have a little enclosure for it, so it would still be the same, like the territory. You have a fish tank and then a little 2-inch thylacine that you could have in there. It could roam all over.
That'd be so cute.
Man, I have all these great ideas and no way to execute them.
Well, it's because no one's listening to you. It's just so sad. Well, people are listening.
People are listening. We love you all.
Oh, we do love you. Yeah, you could do a lot of damage. It's good. Good ideas.
Thylacine reports do still crop up from Australia, too. They may not... They are technically officially extinct, but they may not actually be extinct. The Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia is a repository for sightings, and they claim that the most recent one happened in 2020.
Oh.
That was allegedly a banner year for the Thylacine, with reports coming out of New South Wales, Northeast Victoria, and Adelaide Hills. Which is interesting and makes sense to me, because remember that 2020, we saw these native animal populations resurge during the COVID lockdowns.
Yeah.
I believe, thylacines could have been part of that temporary recovery too.
Could have been.
They have a special place in my heart because they're a cool cryptid. They're
really cool. And it makes me really, I remember during COVID, that was a silver lining of seeing nature kind of come back because we had stepped away a little bit. But it's look at what we do. Look at the harm we do. And that's the evidence, that's so much evidence, when we step away and we see things actually coming back and how beautiful that is. I just think it makes me sad that now it's now we're back to business and it's depressing.
I know. There were what, dolphins in the New York Harbor or something like that, and there's all
the Venice Canal was
yeah.
clean.
Yep, and we saw thylacines.
Yeah, apparently, maybe.
There were reports. There were reports at least. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. There's a lot of scientific debate over the thylacine. That's why I think it's so cool, is because there are certain cryptids like Mothman that seem pretty impractical when you regard the reports as opposed to like what real biology tells us, But the Thylacine was real. It's just not here anymore. And that's why I think it's such a cool cryptid. Just like the UK big cats is like, like that. There's no reason that this couldn't exist. We just don't believe that it exists, but it might. Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Irish Star.
Yeah, the Irish Star is actually a great website for cryptids. It is. No, it actually is. We've had a couple of things reported from the Irish Star.
We have.
But so this is pretty cool. A ship captain claims that he has found sonar proof of Nessie, or at least something big in Loch Ness. And so on September 22nd, this captain, Sean, I believe it's pronounced Sloggie, Slggie, Sean Sloggie.
Sloggie.
Sloggie, yeah. I'm going to go with that unless you correct me.
No, I think it's, yeah.
He runs Cruise Loch Ness, which is a company that takes you out on boats to, go through the loch and look for Nessie. And they spotted something on his sonar that looked like a huge object. It was 98 meters or 321 feet below the surface of the lake. And it's actually off the lake bed. So it's not like it would be a crashed or wreck or something like that.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit like a big turtle, I think. You can see like more of a humped, thicker body and then a shorter head or tail or something.
Yeah.
Sloggy said, "It's the strangest thing that I have ever seen on sonar in my life. When I put that image on the screen, you can feel the chill on board. We are not sonar experts, and I don't know what it is, and I can't tell you how big it is."
Oh, we don't even know how big it is?
Well, no, not exactly.
That's too bad.
So, first off, my thoughts on this when I first saw this, and I saw the depth of it, I was like, oh man, could that be the Loch Ness Monster prop? Because, little piece of history here, there was a movie that was made in, I want to say the 1970s, called The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. And this has been one of the, I get on these little cryptid tangents, and this is one of the tangents that has like followed me my entire life. So The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes is a movie that is not based on any of the existing Arthur Conan Doyle stories, but it takes place in Loch Ness. And part of that is the monster. Like the monster is there, but it turns out that the monster is actually a like submarine with a monster head that is run by one of the villains. And I don't remember exactly. I saw the movie a long time ago. Anyway, they had made the movie with a quote unquote life-size Nessie prop, which they had anchored in Loch Ness, and they were kind of moving around in the loch to film this attack scene. But during the filming, the prop broke free and sank in the loch.
Oh.
And so somewhere in the bottom of Loch Ness is this prop. And they had actually found that on sonar back in, I think, 2016. They found like the decaying prop down there, which is really fascinating. So initially I was like, oh, did he just see the prop again on his sonar? But I don't think so. And the reason is because this one seems like it's above the lake bed, not on the lake bed.
Oh. Unless there's a current picking it up and putting it back down.
And maybe it's decayed enough at this point. I mean, it's been 40 some years, so maybe that happened.
Yeah. God,
But-
it could be anything.
But I also, I was a little perplexed why Sloggy couldn't tell how big it was. And I mean, obviously he admits that he's no expert. I don't think that, he's not a sonar expert. He just has it on his boat.
Yeah.
But I did some research into how to interpret sonar readouts, especially fish finders. And it seems like that's what they were using. Have you ever heard of a fish finder?
No.
Oh, they're little sonar things that anglers will use on their boats. That it blasts a sonar signal and then hits off the fish and comes back, and you can tell where the fish are.
Okay.
And then you know where to go to fish.
Sounds like cheating to me.
Well, I mean, yeah. Depends on how you treat. Do you use technology to improve the sport? Who knows? I don't know.
It's an age-old debate.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
I used to do captions for fishing shows as one of my jobs in the industry, and they would use fish finders a lot because that way you could just go to a place and be guaranteed that you were at least going to have. I mean, there's no guarantee in angling anyway, but you would be guaranteed that you would have the best chance of getting something because you really don't want to go out with your film crew who you're paying so much money for and catch nothing, which is what I would do.
Yeah, I would get that. I mean, I understand that part, yeah.
So anyway, sonar. Do you know anything about the way sonar works?
Yeah, it's like this is my expert
Lay it on me.
Explanation. It is a sound wave
Yes.
that pings off of objects, and it brings the information back to you, and therefore you know the distance, the size of said object.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much spot on for all of that.
Bam.
But one of the things that really struck me when I was reading about it is that sonar, that sound wave that we pulse out to have the objects returned to us, is a spiraling cone. It's not a continual cone, like it's not a spinning ice cream cone, but it's the wave that goes out in a spiral. Okay? And a cone from your one projecting source. So the hits come back and they display their distance from the sonar transducer. Now, when a fish or sea monster enters the outer perimeter of that cone, their signal is weak. The hit is weak, and so it's displayed as being farther away from the transducer or lower in the frame. Because the picture, when we look at this picture and it looks like it's a side-on picture where you see the surface and the bottom, that's not actually what it's displaying. It's not a 1-for-1. It's showing how far the fish is from the boat, not in space.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it says the bottom of the lake is so far, then the fish is so far, and it kind of vaguely puts them together. Okay. Now, what happens is when the fish enters the outer perimeter of this cone, the signal's weak. When the fish gets to the center of the cone, that's the strongest that the signal will be, so the signal becomes stronger. That displays higher on the sonar readout. And then as the fish moves away, the signal becomes weaker again and it displays lower.
Okay.
And the ground that you see there is very far away, so the signal is very weak and it displays very low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so all the weak stuff is going to be kind of over there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what all of that means together is that when you have a large fish come onto a fish finder or a sonar, it displays as an arc or an arch, an upside down V, sort of. So schools of medium-sized fish look like mini mountain ranges. Really big fish are just one single arch, and smaller fish in schools might just be flat lines.
Okay.
So what does that mean for this monster? Well, this monster is a flat, thick blob that barely arches and then just kind of disappears. So while I can't say for certain what this is, it's not very large. If it was large, we would see more of an arch to it. So while it's an interesting sonar hit, and I'm sure that it was good for Sloggy's Cruise Loch Ness business, I don't think that it's a monster-sized creature, and certainly not a plesiosaur-sized creature the way we all think that Nessie is.
That's really cool.
So that's my sonar research.
That's very good.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of looks like a beaver anyway, so I think he might have just gotten a beaver.
The Loch Ness beaver.
Yeah, ignoring everything you just said, I think that just looks like a beaver.
It looks like a turtle to me.
You don't see a beaver?
A beaver? How do you see a beaver in it?
That's its little flat tail.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
You can even almost pretend that it has buck teeth.
You can pretend whatever you want, EJ. It does. No, it does. It actually does have these two little things in the front. Those could be buck teeth. Yeah. Well, there you go. Maybe that's exactly what it is. Maybe it's the Loch Ness beaver, and it's swimming to the depth of 98.8 meters for some reason.
It's very lost.
It's looking for ghost sharks in Loch Ness.
Right. So that's it. That's our Fortean Roundup.
That's the Fortean Roundup
All right.
for October.
Kind of spooky, but not too spooky.
Well, it's a
not
little
too scary.
spooky. Yeah.
The beaver's a little scary.
It is spooky this month. This is the month for ghosts and other scary paranormal things. So if you want to really get into the paranormal spirit this October, this Halloween, look, we're going to release this episode on October 25th. So you will have almost a full week to become one of our supporters. Head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com. Click on the support us button at the top of the page. We are going to be doing something really, really cool this Halloween. So we are releasing the very first Slaying Monsters investigation. And it's an investigation into an investigation, I think. So, EJ, you and I did an Estes method session.
Yes, we did. We did 3 sessions.
Wow. Yes, we did. So the Estes method, for those who don't know, it is a type of instrumental transcommunication, which is just a fancy way to say talking to ghosts and spirits. So we wanted to see, is there any truth to this? Is there any veracity to it? And we put it through its paces, I think. This is a newer type of ITC. And I think it's pretty cool that we, I believe, are the first ones to really try to explore it in a scientific way.
Maybe. I don't know. There could be.
That I'm aware of.
Yeah,
anyway.
we just aren't aware of it. So,
yeah,
it was a lot of fun. And I'm excited to share it with everybody. So, yeah.
Yes. So we are going to have a special episode coming out on Halloween where we will reveal our findings about that. And then if you want to see the actual sessions that we did, you want to see some video of us performing them, like I said, head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com, click on the support us button to the top of the page. That'll take you to our Buy Me a Coffee site. If you become a subscriber there, all of our subscribers, supporters will get access to all of that video content and all of the future content that we may have for you as things progress.
Very good.
We also are just getting back from a screening of a short film that we produced, EJ, that you wrote and starred in and that I shot and cut. And we produced in association with Oh Yeah Cool. And that I am hoping to release as well to our supporters. So that will be coming at some point in the future. There's still some stuff we got to finish up with that, and I have to find time to do all of that.
Yeah.
In between producing content for you wonderful, wonderful people. So thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. Thank you to the supporters. We'd love to have you on board with us and are really looking forward to releasing some of this investigative content and this video content for you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the investigation part of it is a lot of fun, and I hope to do a lot more in the future. So this is just the beginning.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. I really want, we've talked before about doing Ouija board sessions. I'd love to do Ouija board sessions. I actually bought a spirit box for the Estes method because the spirit box you have connected to a set of headphones and you're blinded. So I'm hoping to do some spirit box sessions in appropriate places. I'd love to get to some haunted locations. And I mean, look, I would also really love to get to, let's go hunt a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to do that. So,
let's do it.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
You just want bacon.
You
just want an excuse to cook bacon.
I always want bacon. I'm going to see if there's a Sasquatch in our kitchen after this episode because I haven't had breakfast yet.
Oh, yeah, me either. All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks, everybody, very much.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you see any special Fortean stories that you want us to cover, email them on over to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, or if you have any particular investigations that you'd like to see us do, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com. I can't afford an SLS right now, but maybe in the future I can, and that would be really cool too. I'd love to do an SLS session at some point.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, beyond that, man, what can we say? Watch out for whales with knives.
Yeah. Watch out for whale penises.
Yeah, whales, just avoid whales this month.
Yes, respect whales.
Yeah,
Watch them from a distance.
Respect whales. Treat them with the love and respect that they deserve, but keep your distance, especially, if they're holding one of the sharp objects, they're coming for your head.
They're coming for you.
All right. Be safe out there.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Slaying Monsters, the Paranormal History Podcast. If you like the podcast, there's a couple ways to show your support. You can tell your friends, you can leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform, or you can head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com and click on the Support Us button to leave a donation. For questions, suggestions, and other feedback, reach out to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and stay up to date by following us on Instagram @slayingmonsterspodcast. Your support helps us grow, and we are truly grateful to have our listeners and community.